Greetings, happy Hanukkah, happy Kwanzaa, Merry Christmas, a good Yule to you all. Happy solstice. It's a very special time because we got a lot of planets in Capricorn, especially if you're studying the sidereal system of astrology. Christmas is older than what we know. It began way back before Saint Nick, Santa Claus, before the Coca-Cola company painted his robes red. We're go into a little bit of history and see the origins of Santa Claus and the astrological connections to Christmas, to Yule, to Kwanzaa, and I'm going to show you a few planets that are within Christmas. As you could see, this is an Assyrian Babylonian tree of life. Some say this is where it all began, but you can actually trace Christmas's roots throughout the entire world, actually. Now, this stuff should definitely be taught in school. Check. Ancient Sumerian, Mesopotamian, and Babylonian kings would deify themselves. This is Nimrod. Some say also Nebuchadnezzar, spoken about in the Bible, deified himself on December 25th. Also other Egyptian gods such as Horus, the sky god, and Mithra from Zoroastrian mythology also was deified on this particular day of the solstice. Now let me show you what's happening over here with symbolism. Here you can see a winged cherub bringing treats, gifts, water, acorns to an ancient Sumerian tree of life. Now, in another depiction, in another slide, I'm going to show you a winged ornament topping the tree of life. This, of course, is the descent of the ancient Babylonian gods. We're going to seek to answer the questions of Christmas, how it began, and other world cultures. So here you can clearly see an ancient Sumerian depiction of this genie standing next to a tree of life. Now in Kabbalah, we're taught the specification of the tree of life, the dimensions, how it affects our psychology, how God used this blueprint itself to form the basis of all creation. It's a wonder why trees are used throughout most world cultures, and I did a few posts on different trees of life, which I'm going to show you guys in a few slides as we move. So here you can see right behind me, I'm going to show you something. Look, see that? You see that Christmas tree? What do you see around it? You see the ornaments rounded about. We're going to get to the star later on, but you can also see a snake. This is called the path of descent and ascent according to Kabbalah. Snakes symbolize the guardians of the tree of life and the tree of knowledge of good and evil. This is why we have the ornaments around a pine tree, because pine trees were Mesoamerican peoples, which included the Semitic tribes. That's the modern Jews today, and the Islamic peoples as well. This is why in Islam there is a star in the banner of the flag of Islam. You see? So you can see a lot of different historical connections. They're very congruent to one another. Snakes, according to Kabbalah, were what we can equate to being titans. The titans were kicked out of Mount Olympus in Greek mythology, and they wanted to usurp the power of the tree of life. Zeus sent them downwards, right? So you will see this snake creature. You can also see this icon in Hinduism today with the rising of the Kundalini. That's what the tree of life symbolizes. Here in Hinduism, you can also see the Kundalini energy, the rising of the serpents, which symbolize this exact same story that's told in Greek mythology about the Titans and the assumption of the throne of Mount Olympus and trying to, overturn authority of heaven, how Zeus had to bring down punishment upon these forces, right? But also, this represents what's called the Leviathan, or the forces of the jinn, the forces that need to be controlled or corrected within us. The tree of life shows us to harness the serpent energy, not to allow it to control us, but rather for us to control it. Here is one of the oldest depictions of Ra taking on the form of a jackalope, slaying his immortal enemy, the serpent known as Apophis or Apep. This serpent is the immortal enemy of Ra. It's the ongoing struggle between the angelic consciousness and the animal consciousness. And here you could clearly see a depiction of the Egyptian tree of life. Here's another example of serpents and a tree of life. This is the great serpent called Jomangar, and he is responsible for upholding the tree of life. He actually sits at the base of the tree of life. He is the enemy of Odin, the Allfather, who we'll discuss next. Get a good look at that image. It was said that when Odin wished to gain knowledge of the ancients, knowledge of time and fate, he became the first immortal. He is like Saturn, Father Time. This time of Yule was also known to the Romans as Saturnalia, the time when Saturn, the great god, planted the harvest for the upcoming year. Saturn was also known as Kronos. Kronos was Father Time, from where we derived the word chronology. So who you're looking at here is Odin, the Allfather in Norse mythology, and it was said that he gained the knowledge of the runes by hanging upside down from the tree of life. So do you recognize this guy right here? Before Hallmark and Coca-Cola got their hands on him, this is actually Saint Nicholas, the oldest depiction of Santa Claus. Here you could see a clear connection, a derivative from the old god Woden or Odin. He's a Germanic god who was worshipped by Anglo-Saxons, Mercians, Welsh, Britannians, Nordic peoples. Everyone knew who Woden was, or Woden, but he also was connected to Saturn as well as the first Father Time. This is why Santa never ages. On Dasher, on Dancer, on Prancer, on Vixen, on Comet, on Cupid, on Dunder, on Blitzen, and sometimes Rudolph is there, but really there are 8 reindeer. This is because 8 is the number of Saturn. But did you know that Odin had an 8-legged horse? Some people say it was a reindeer or 2, depending on the mythology, named Sleipnir. I'm going to show you in the next slide, and you decide for yourself. So here it is, Odin's 8-legged steed, known as Sleipnir, or the slippery one. So here you could see the connection: snow, winter, 8, Saturn, Santa, Father Time, ancient wisdom, ageless wisdom. So there you go. Now we all know the story of the 3 kings. Now, how did the Christians manage to throw Jesus into this? Now, I already told you, Jesus is the sun, Horus, Mithra, the rebirthing of Christ consciousness, the new Buddha consciousness, Vishnu reincarnate. Now I'm going to show you how they used astronomy to get to this point. 3 kings, follow a star. What's that star? It's the Star of Bethlehem. I'm going to show you the Bethlehem star and who it really is. It's going to surprise you if you don't already know. I'm sure you guys have studied already. So let me go on to it now. Fun fact, during the winter solstice, the 3 kings, known as the stars on Orion's belt, pass through the star Sirius, rebirthing the sun, the solstice. This is known as the Yule. It goes on from December 21st to January 1st. So many holidays, including Saturnalia, were made up around this time. So the sun literally is the birthing of Christ. Now, who's Orion's belt? Orion's belt is actually the Hindu god Shiva or Mahadev, specifically Shiva Nataraja. But because Hanuman is an aspect of Lord Shiva, Hanuman is also known as Orion's belt. When Hanuman was young, he leapt up and tried to consume the sun. The stars known as Eridanus is also Nandi, the great bull that serves as a guardian to Lord Shiva. The other animals, such as Monoceros or Siddhas, serve as Shiva's sons, Ganesha and Kartikeya. The solstice also shows us a time when Hanuman leapt into the sky as a child and attempted to consume the sun. He was struck down by Indra, the king of the gods, and to appease his father Father Vayu. Mind you, Hanuman is an incarnation of Shiva. All the other gods wanted to appease Vayu because Vayu started creating turbulent storms for the act of Indra against his son. And then all the gods blessed Hanuman with immortality, strength, so on and so forth. One of Hanuman's name is Mahavira, which is a name given to the Buddha of the future. And to top it off with the star. Look at all the stars that have derived. This is just one example. We have Roman, Ethiopian, Armenian, Hindu, Mesopotamian, Phoenician, Bactrian, Japanese, Hindu. There's so many stars of David or stars of Bethlehem. They can't have just came from one place. This shows us the connection to that great star. Now, who is the star? Here we have Botticelli's very famous painting known as The Birth of Venus, where Kronos, the king of the god, castrated Uranus's genitals, threw them into the river, forming Venus, showing the connection between Venus, the evening star, or the Star of Bethlehem, and Saturnalia, the connection between Saturn or Kronos, Santa or Satan, and Venus. Now, before the Christians demonized Venus, the evening star, the Star of Bethlehem, he was actually a sage of magic, the teacher of demons or asuras. He was the teacher of tantric scriptures, Hinduism, shastras, tantras, all of the rituals. Venus was the god of magic in Hinduism. The Christians couldn't have that now, could they? So they turned it into the Star of Bethlehem. This concludes my video on the origins of Christmas. I'm sorry if I missed anything. If you have any more additions, feel free to inbox me. That would be awesome. We can discuss this together. I wanted to show you guys the connections between astrology, astronomy, mythology, Nordic myth, Babylonian myths, everything. Just mesh it all together. I want you guys to see these complex ancient traditions that are all condensed into the holidays we know and love today. Thank you very much for listening. I hope you have a wonderful new year. Goodwill to all women and men. Peace and love. Many blessings.